People are still joining.
Mm-hmm.
Murillo is joining also. One moment. Okay, so far we have everybody in.
Okay, so just to keep it punctual on time as planned, so I would like to welcome everyone. Good afternoon from sunny and warm Greece. We are delighted to have Teresa Peacock with us today from Spinnaker. She sits in the UK and she has a 30 plus years of experience in recruiting. So we have amazing things to learn today from you, I'm sure, Teresa. So the stage is yours. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you all. I'll start off by just sharing my screen and my presentation. So hopefully you can see that okay. All good? Fabulous. Okay, so my name is Teresa Peacock, and I am Managing Director of Spinnaker. And I focus on the executive search part of the business, so the senior level roles. And I'm also on the board of Wister UK. So I'm sure a lot of you know about Wister. We've got I think it's over 6,000 members worldwide now, Women's International Shipping and Trading Association. So between the two of those roles, that they keep me quite busy. I'm also part of the all-party parliamentary group with the government in the UK, and we look at women in the workplace. And I do a few other bits on the side when I have time. But today we're going to talk about recruitment and retention and the challenges that we're facing and some of the strategies that we can use. Okay, so I thought I'd talk about four main areas today: the challenges that we're facing and maybe why, what effective strategies you can use to try and overcome some of those challenges. I'd like to talk about your own recruitment process, and then I'd like to finish with looking at some competitive compensation and benefits. So looking at the challenges, and I think, in my opinion, I think there are four main challenges. There's a lack of awareness and appeal in the sector. We have an aging workforce. We have pretty stiff competition from some other sectors. And the demand for digital skills is across all sectors, and it's particularly strong in our sector at the moment. So, lack of awareness and appeal. Are maritime careers promoted enough? Well, I think in the UK, no is the answer. We don't appear enough on media. In the UK, we've had a massive campaign about working in the Royal Navy, which has had some really good results, but that was focused on the Royal Navy. So we may get the occasional film like Captain Phillips, which draws people attention to the industry, but generally it's really not promoted very well. There are some good, individual seafarers doing a lot to get us out into the sector. If you look at TikTok, there's some great stuff going on, but that's really down to individuals rather than any group or collective doing anything. So it isn't well promoted. When we do see it on the news, it's a crisis management situation. There's been a collision or something has happened, and therefore it can get to be perceived negatively. People think of, the maritime sector as spending long times away from home. They do view it as quite traditional and lacking in flexibility. And a lot of young people think that we're being blamed for climate change. So all in all, no, it's not really very widely promoted. And when it is, it tends to be quite negative, as a summary. The aging workforce is the other area. Now, the Maritime Skills Commission did a survey recently, and they said that 40% of people in the maritime industry were over the age of 50. And only 14% were under the age of 30. And on the seafarers side, it's even worse. They said 62% of deck ratings were 40 to 61. I am seeing a lot of succession planning in businesses. There's a lot of companies with managers and directors at that senior level who are about to retire. During COVID, we saw a wave of retirement happening of people sort of around the 60 age bracket. COVID happened, they wanted to hang up their boots. So we did see a big exit around COVID. So this really underscores even more the importance even more of getting young people through and into the sector. Competition from other sectors. Well, aviation. I don't know why aviation seems so much sexier than maritime, but it does seem to be that way. Renewable, that they're pulling talent because the skills are transferable from maritime. So the growth of the renewable market has pulled talent out of the maritime market. The logistics and supply chain, again, similar professions, but logistics and supply chain are offering slightly more flexibility. And of course, technology firms. You know, any tech person, they're all looking at robotics and AI and big data and how exciting and interesting all of that is. So there's no doubt that there is big competition from these other areas in particular. But what it does mean is it gives us an opportunity to headhunt out of these sectors because they're using similar skill sets to ours. So we can, you know, make a note of these sectors and maybe when you're headhunting, you know, have some of these in mind. And then the demand for digital skills, loads of them. Automation, robotics, AI, cybersecurity, data analysis. A few years ago, it was all about data. We need to gather data. We need to analyze data. Now we've seen a massive uptick in requests for jobs for data analysts. So that really has been one of the largest growth areas that Spinnaker have seen over the last sort of year or two. Cybersecurity as well. There's been a couple of major breaches. I mean, in the UK alone, one of our famous Marks and Spencer M&S, they had a big breach on cybersecurity. So, you know, everybody's a little bit afraid. Everybody's looking for people with that cybersecurity knowledge across all sectors, and we're competing alongside. One other thing I'll say that's quite interesting of late is previously people had to speak English to be in the maritime sector. English was the required language. Now we're getting more and more requests for Arabic and Mandarin. So over the last year, those two languages in particular have become, you know, a standard request. So we're seeing more language skills being requested. So now that we know what some of the problems are, what can we do about it? So we need to have some good recruitment strategies, okay? And I think there are 4 quick wins that companies can do to help attract people to their business. The first one is your own employer branding. The second one is using more targeted sourcing. I think we can leverage technology better. And I think we should engage more with passive candidates. So I just want to talk a bit about each of these 4 areas. So, okay, why does employer branding matter? Well, strong employer branding will influence whether a candidate accepts a job, but it will affect whether a candidate even applies for a job. LinkedIn did a survey recently, and they said that 75% of job seekers consider the employer's brand before pressing the apply button. So a really compelling brand will attract the right talent because people will be excited to join you. Of course, candidates research you. So you need to get your online presence right. It will help you to reduce your recruitment costs. You'll be less reliant on recruitment agencies like me, and you'll be less reliant on advertising that you might have to pay for. A good brand will help to retain your top performers. We know high turnover is costly and it disrupts everything. Employees that connect with your brand are far more likely to stay, so you'll get far less churn. So if your employees are proud of who they work for, then you're going to keep them for longer. And happy employees will refer their own friends to you, so you'll get increased referrals. It doesn't boost employee engagement and productivity, and in turn, that will mean your own clients and customers will get a better service because happy people give a better service to your own customers. So remember your own staff in this employee branding process. It's important that they're bought in as well as your external people that you're trying to attract. So how do you build a strong employer brand? So these are the steps that you need to look at. The first thing is you need to define your company culture and values. Now, lots of companies have culture and values or mission statements. Make sure you've got a nice, clear culture and value statement. What makes your company unique? What does your company stand for? And that will attract people who align with those values and with that culture. And it avoids recruiting people who are of the wrong culture for your business. Improve your online presence. Showcase your culture across all of the platforms that you use, careers page, LinkedIn, job boards, and so on. And remember, all of your potential candidates will research you. Do you know what the outside world is saying about you? There are websites like Glassdoor where people go on and leave reviews. Have you checked out what people are saying about you? That's always worth doing. So take a look at Glassdoor. Communicate transparently. So be honest about your strengths, but also be honest about your areas of employment. If you're talking to candidates and they have a reservation over something, if that reservation is warranted, then say yes. And this is what we're doing to try to overcome it. Don't try to hide it. Offer growth and development opportunities. This is really, really key. Gen Z are looking for growth development opportunities, that things. So make sure you demonstrate that throughout all of your branding, throughout all of your advertising. Use case studies, use stories, your own staff who has started and worked their way up and has had that career growth and career progression. So make sure that you use stories. And if you can embed videos in your adverts and in your website, all the better, because job adverts with videos in them apparently get 34% more application. So videos are a really good way of on the hook. So the bottom line really is employer branding is a workplace that people do want to join. It attract top talent, it will reduce your cost, it will improve retention, and it will enhance your own company's reputation. So what I've done is I've selected 3 companies that I feel are doing a really good job on their branding and attracting candidates. And I'll talk you through the reasons why. Now, these are big companies and they have no doubt spent an absolute fortune on branding and PR and getting it right. But what you can do is you can take a look at their websites and you can take things from what they're doing because they're doing it really very well and they're getting good attraction rates. So the first one I wanted to take a look at was Maersk. Okay, really good, strong brand. Everybody knows it. They have a clear brand message. So this career page highlights their core values: sustainability, diversity, innovation, and collaboration. They use employee testimonials and stories. So they feature employees and how they've risen throughout through their career with them. So it demonstrates the potential. When people look at that, they can see other people have done it and they can feel, well, I can have the same career growth. They have a focus on diversity and inclusion, so they promote that throughout all of their websites. Again, that's really important for Generation Z. And they use interactive features. So when you look at the section on their culture, there's lots of videos and stories that you can watch. So it keeps you engaged on their website. The next one is CMA CGM. Again, a major player in the shipping industry, strong brand. They're highlighting their commitment to innovation. So they're positioning themselves as forward thinking. They highlight training and career development. That was throughout all of the good sites that I reviewed. Sustainability and corporate responsibility, corporate social responsibility. So they are highlighting the key things that are important within their culture and their own values. And it comes across strongly in everything they do. And you'll see that across their website and their job ads when they're advertising on job boards and LinkedIn and so on. And then the final one was DNV. Again, global quality assurance, strong brand. They're focusing on employee development and engagement, and they're using stories. They're using actual staff and their stories in their website. They're focusing on innovation. They're cutting edge. They're at the forefront of it. And of course, they want to recruit a lot of engineers, DNV. So it's really important their focus on innovation. And sustainability and purpose-driven work. So again, Gen Z, they're all about less about the money and more about the purpose of what they're doing in their job. So how does your website compare when you look at some of these examples? They've all got a clear innovation message. They all want to be cutting edge. They've all got strong purpose and a sustainability focus, and they're looking at how employees can contribute to their goals, be they climate or safety or community. And they've got visible employee growth stories on their websites as well. So have a look at your website. Do your careers page reflect your purpose, your innovation? Does it show success stories? Can people have a career with you? Will they develop properly? Would your site inspire you to apply for a job on it? And that's what really you want to be having a think about. These companies all do it really well. Take a look at them and copy the bits that you can do quite easily. So once you've got yourself a nice strong brand and your website's up to speed, let's have a look at some strategies around targeted sourcing. Now, LinkedIn and Facebook are still the top places that people go for to look for jobs. That's where most people are advertising. I was surprised with Facebook because I'd heard that Facebook was reducing in popularity with some of the younger people, but it still seems to be a place that people are advertising quite a lot at. Niche job boards for specific targeted, especially within maritime. If you're a maritime professional, you're more likely to go to a niche job board, so niche job boards and so on. Schools, colleges, alumni, all of those normal things that you're linking in with. Favored methods of advertising the role, nearly half are using recruitment agencies, which is great for somebody like me. A lot of them are doing that alongside their own recruitment, which is, absolutely fine. And then followed by their own website and then social networking like LinkedIn and Facebook, and then job boards. The one thing I would say is if you keep a track of where your candidates are coming from, where your successful candidates are coming from, then that's where you want to focus your energies. You may be surprised that somewhere like TikTok gives you a better caliber of person than somewhere like LinkedIn. But until you actually look at that data and analyze it, you don't know. And you want to be spending your precious time on the areas that are giving you the best results. Leaving technology, there's lots that we can do with technology. Applicant tracking systems. I don't know if anybody's using an ATS system. It can speed up a lot of what you're doing. I mean, once you've built up your ATS, you can then go back and you can search it using keywords and so on when you do have vacancies. But it can automate a lot for you. It can send out job descriptions automatically. It can send out invites and all sorts. So a good ATS, if you're big enough, can save you a lot of time. One thing it can't do, though, is it can't match that cultural fit, and it can't gauge the attitude fit. So it can help you with some of the manual tasks, but I don't think AI is ever going to replace the human when it comes to looking at somebody's attitude and skills. And they say attitude is more important than experience and skills, because you can train skills, but you can't train attitude. And then engaging passive candidates. Okay, so this is an interesting one. About 30% of the working population are actively looking for another job. So 30% of your staff are looking for another job. However, LinkedIn did a survey and they said 87% of people are open to hearing about interesting opportunities, albeit they're not actively looking. So part of your sourcing strategy should be to reach out to people who are not actively applying to jobs for you. Because if your job is interesting enough, then you're likely to get them interested. Headhunting skills do remain critical. So do utilize them. A few tips when you're reaching out and headhunting: try and keep it personal. If you refer to something personal in their background or what they've done, they're far more likely to respond to you. And always make sure you're demonstrating career growth and the ability to move on in the company, rather than just, this is the job that we've got. Do you fancy having a look at it? So they're the sort of strategies that one can employ to try and attract and engage people. But I do want to talk to you about your process. I don't know if there are any HR professionals on the meeting today, but what we feel is this is where most companies fall down. So your process is you have a clear job description, a clear person specification, and you have a budget for the role. If you don't have a job description, you can reach out to agencies who can give you generic job descriptions. They can always help you with that. And they can give you salary advice on what somebody with those skills would be earning. If you're not using an agency and you're unsure as to whether you're or you're not attracting the right people, just have a look at the salaries of the people you're attracting. Because if your salary is too low, then you won't be attracting the right people. And the good candidates that you're applying, if they're too expensive, then you might need to go back and revisit your budget. But the easiest thing is to pick up the phone and speak to an agency. They can always tell you about, whether you're at the right level or not.
Fortuna. Sì, chiara.
Okay. I thought there was a question, but there isn't. I'm happy to take questions along the way if you want to. So then you need to just decide on your sourcing strategies. What platforms are you going to use? What agencies are you going to go to? And you need to write a great advert. I'm going to come back to the advert shortly. If you are using an agency, I implore you to give them feedback and to give them a good briefing. I know it takes a bit longer in the beginning, but it will save you and them an awful lot of time if you give them a good briefing. If you're an HR professional, give them 10 minutes with the line manager, because the line manager will be able to articulate exactly what they're looking for in a very short period of time, and that helps no end. So I do implore you, 10 minutes with the line manager and give them good feedback on each CV. It will save you a lot of time. Timing is important. Most people lose candidates because it takes them too long to go through the phase, to go through the stages. Once you get your CV in and you think they're good, set up an interview. Ideally, give them feedback on the CV within 48 hours. Get the interview set up shortly after. Don't wait until you've got 3 or 4 or 5 good CVs to present to the hiring manager or to give to the hiring manager, or to do yourself if you're doing it yourself. If you see one good CV, then interview it straight away, because timing is absolutely everything. And move from first interview to second interview as quickly as you can. That's where most people will lose out. That's where you'll lose your candidates. Remember, they are interviewing you as much as you are interviewing them. So be nice, be friendly, be warm. Don't give them a really tough interview and be really grilling. You want them to want to work with you. They're interviewing you as much as you're interviewing them. So make sure that you're nice. Offers and negotiations thereafter, and reference checks. You can offer subject to references, but please, please don't take market soundings on candidates when they're in the process with you. I know it's very tempting because you know somebody who works with somebody who knows them. Maritime, even though it's global, is a very small world. Please don't take market soundings. It can cause an awful lot of sticky situations. And then whilst you're waiting for people on notice periods, it can be 2 or 3 months. So please, keep in touch with them throughout that notice period till you get, when you're properly onboarding them. So I said I would just come back to the job advert. I can sort of spin through this quite quickly. How am I doing for time? And if you want this, I can send it out to you afterwards. But there's just a few pointers for you on your advert. Really, you want to hook them in the first line. You need to gain their interest. That's what you're looking to do on the first line. So instead of "we are hiring a marketing assistant," try for "do you want to shape the brand voice of a fast-growing tech startup where your ideas matter from day one?" So it's not just marketing assistant Athens. We're really that first is an opening hook to get them really bought into it. A bit about the company, brief, but maybe something about you and so on. Then a little bit about the role, what they're going to be doing on a day-to-day basis. Then a little bit about them. So what kind of person will the role suit? You're likely to be doing this and have done that and know this. But instead of listing what you want when it comes to the description, talk to them about what they're going to get out of it and include that in the benefits. Are they going to get opportunities to grow? Are they going to be able to lead meaningful projects? What's in it for them? What's going to be exciting for them to keep them interested and to get them engaged? And then you want a call to action. So email this address, or call me on this number, or apply here. But you need that call to action at the bottom. But one thing I wanted to mention was the gender decoder. I think that without realizing it, we all use gendered language. And if you do use gendered language, you risk alienating half of the population. So, for example, bossy, feisty, they tend to use those words when they're talking about women and females. So I've got some links if you want them. You can write your advert out. You can pop it through this gender decoder, and it will highlight all the areas where you're being male biased or female biased. And you can then rewrite it. It will give you suggested words to use to keep it neutral. And that will increase the number of applications that you get, because you're not alienating half of the population. So yeah, let me know if you want to have any links about that. A couple of other things, break up your text, use headings, use bullet points. Remember that a lot of the time candidates are reading it on their phone. So you want to make sure that it's, nice and snappy and easy to read. So the simple structure is an opening hook about the company, about the role, about the person, benefits and perks, and then a call to action to help them, to make them apply. It is worth investing time in writing a really good advert because you will get far better results. So I know it's a bit more work up front, but it's so worth it. Okay, so then just looking at really competitive compensation and benefits and how companies can stand out, you should be benchmarking your salaries and your perks and your benefits so you know that you're are at the right level. You want to try and make sure that your company looks like a great place to work, so your company culture and values will attract people, and you want some really, really good benefits. Again, agencies can give you anecdotal advice around good benefits, what people are looking for at the moment. Spinnaker are a secretariat for the HR Association, so people pay to join. They give us all of their data. We crunch all the data and we produce benchmarking reports. So we look at salary from lower quartile through a median and upper quartile. We look at it on base, total compensation, bonus, and so on. We break it down by job families, so all the job families are different, and we can do it by geography, by country, by region, and we do global data as well. So you may want to take a look at that, but agencies will be able to give you anecdotal stuff anyway. So being a great place to work. Have you ever asked your HR to go into any awards or anything like that? All of these companies have won awards for being a great place to work. Now, Mintra, they're actually a very interesting company. If you haven't had a look at them, you should take a look at them. I'm not on commission. But they are the Netflix of the training world. So you pay like, I don't know, $3 a head. And that person has access to every single training course that they do online. It's a really, really interesting model. Yeah, and that's how it was described, Netflix for training. Anyway, they actually won an award for what did they win an award for? Oh yeah, creating a positive and supportive workplace culture. TUI, they won Sunday Times Best Place to Work for its commitment to employee well-being. The HR Association runs awards, and Navigator Gas, they won for a health and well-being initiative. They have things like heart screenings and fitness clubs. They give each team a budget for team building. Some really novel things they were doing. There was an award for employee engagement, and Ardmore got this, and this was quite funny. Ardmore do a Cruise Got Talent. And so they had different things, and all crews would feel themselves doing these different things and send them in, and there would be a winner. So they had one for photography, they had one for dancing, they had one for cooking, and the winners got cash prizes to spend with their teams on like a team exercise. So that was really good. And Oldendorf won for learning and won one for learning and development. So it might be worth benchmarking your benefits against others. And if you want any referrals to anybody, we work with lots of different companies. I'm happy to refer you onto a company who does this or who does that. So a couple of other interesting things, and this I read today actually, and it's around Gen Z. The most important things that Gen Z are looking for at the moment are a work-life balance. They want flexibility, they want well-being, and they want mental health support. And this isn't really a perk anymore. These are being expected of people. They want a visible career pathway. They're not afraid to leave and to go to somewhere else that's going to give them better development. They want an inclusive culture where every voice matters and every voice is heard. They want to be purpose-driven, so they want to feel like they're making a difference. It's not just all about the money. And they want transparency and trust. I don't know the age group of the people on the call today, but years ago when I was starting out in my career, you had to earn trust from your employer. Now they expect trust straight away until it's disproved. So they want transparency and they want trust. And if you think that the latest stats are 30% of your workforce are Gen Z, so that's sort of up to the age of about 30, they're all your aspiring managers that are coming through. So they're the ones really that you want to be retaining as much as you possibly can. So yes, understand them, but I think more importantly, we need to reshape our roles around Gen Z. And actually, there's one other thing I wanted to say around AI and digitalization and how it's being used. One of my clients at the moment is doing a project and they're looking at all the jobs in the business and they're looking at how AI and digitalization is going to be impacted. And they are retraining those people now for when their jobs become affected by AI and digitalization. So they're starting that project of looking at everybody, and then there's going to be a retraining exercise happen, which I thought was really, really forward thinking. So I think that's about all from me. Any questions, you can let me know.
Well,
And I will stop sharing now.
thank
And if you
you.
want any links or anything or any advert tips, just let me know. I'm happy to share them all. I'm happy to share them all with you.
To start with, we would like to thank you, Teresa. It's been a very insightful information what you've provided to us, and congratulations for delivering so clearly and passionately, I would say, because it looks like you're very into it. And thank you so much for sharing all this. I'm sure there must be a few questions for you. Anyone? Otherwise, I can share the first until people warm up. I come from, I represent a small family owned business. So there's a different way of approach things when we're talking smaller numbers. So a few questions that were popping out of my mind while you were speaking was like, how do we keep long-term staff motivated when there is limited room for promotions?
Yes, I mean, that's always a tricky one when there isn't a room for promotion, but there are other ways of recognizing people in the business. And I think the key thing is making them feel valued and listening to them. So you'd be amazed at the skills that you've got in the business. You may have somebody who is an aspiring marketeer or an aspiring artist, or somebody who loves social networking. So it's finding out about what other skills your people have in the business and how they can utilize those skills within the business. Because if they can do a couple of hours a week to help you with your marketing because they love using a particular design program or it's one of their interests, it keeps them engaged. They get to do something they love and you get added value as a business from that. So I think it's understanding not just what your staff are capable of doing in their job, but it's understanding what they're doing in their outside world and how maybe that could be added value into the business. Training and development, digitalization is really important at the moment. Have we put any of our employees on any courses which look at data analytics? Not only how to gather data, but how to analyze data. And we're using data in every different role. We're the roles that I'm taking, even when I'm taking roles for technical superintendents, they need a degree of digital savvy. They need a degree of that data analytical ability. And it's only going to increase across every job. So look at things like what additional training can you give them? When you sit down with them and you get to know them and you find out what they like doing, what would they like training on? The fact that you invest in them on a training course is you're far more likely to keep them in the longer term because it will make them feel valued and it shows that you value them.
Good one. Anyone else? Or there is another one that I can think of that does not only apply to small family businesses, but also to the majority of these companies here, as in project cargo management and forwarding, we are usually smaller teams. It doesn't require a lot of people to shape a team for project cargo logistics. So how can we avoid burnout in a small team where everyone wears multiple hats?
Yes. I think collaboration and teamwork is really important so that they can support one another. I think there needs to be a culture, if you can create a culture of collaboration where people are blame-free, because if somebody makes a mistake, it's dreadful. And people suffer when they make mistakes, as does the company. But there needs to be a blame-free culture, a culture of collaboration as to how we can avoid that happening in the future. And that will release some of the stress of those people when they're working in that very high pressured, you have to do it now environment. There are some great things that you can access, especially as small companies. I mean, Spinnaker, we're only 30 people, so we're not a big company. But we subscribe to an online health and well-being service, and it doesn't cost very much. But what it does is it gives all of our employees access to guidance and counseling. So every one of my staff can phone up a helpline if they're having a bad day and they want to talk to somebody confidentially. And it gives them 6 counseling sessions if they need to work through a problem or an issue. It could be a work issue or it could be a personal issue. And that doesn't cost very much as well. So if your people are experiencing high pressure and you're worried about burnout, trying to remove the blame culture, trying to introduce that collaboration culture where people are looking out for each other, but maybe introducing something like this online access, which is very cost effective, and it will give them somebody to talk to and to help them work through their problems. Is probably what I would suggest.
Very interesting. You did mention earlier about a software or an app for checking other people's opinion about our companies. You did mention something.
Yes. There's there's a very popular one called Glassdoor.
How do you spell that?
Yes, it's GLASSDOOR, Glassdoor. And if you go on there and put your company name in, you can see comments from people, current or past. Some of them are anonymous, so you won't know who said what. But that can be quite enlightening to see what people are saying. And don't underestimate the power of what people say in a pub or in a bar when they're out socializing. You need your people on side because they're out talking about you, and that is far more powerful than any branding you can put on a screen or on a platform. So, really take care of the people in your business because they are your best advocates out in the pub talking about whether they hate their job or whether they love their job.
And you did mention something about a link for a gender decoder, right?
That's really interesting. I mean, I first came across this maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I wrote an advert and I put it through this gender decoder, and it was predominantly male language that I had used. And it's because I had the job in mind. And as I was thinking about the job, you picture who you think is going to be the ideal candidate for that job. And you don't realize you're doing it. And I'm on the board of a women's group and Worcester, and I really advocate for equal rights. And I was using masculine language in my job adverts. So that really made me think. There are several out there and they're all free. So put your advert in and it will show you exactly whether you've been male or female gendered.
Very good. It's been really, really useful what you shared with us. I can't thank you more. I don't know if anyone has a comment to share, or we are ready for our group picture. No comments. Okay, so great. So Teresa, you've been so good in what you shared, so nobody had any questions. So let's all switch our cameras if you have the ability, please. Switch on the cameras and we will take a group picture. Yeah, okay. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And one more, just to make sure that everybody has their eyes open. 1, 2, 3. Great. Okay. So Teresa, it's been a pleasure to meet you online. I'm sure we will spend some time together also in Barcelona.
Yes.
So thank you so much for joining the THLG community. And can we share your email in case someone of our member wants to reach out for advice or for any potential collaboration?
Absolutely not a problem at all.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Nice to meet you all. Goodbye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.